let me know in the comment section saying, I can hear you. So welcome everyone. My name is Anne Opize and I am the Communications Officer at Africa Food Changemakers. I am delighted to be your moderator for today's First Thursday program. Okay, thank you. I see everyone. Thank you so much, everyone who is joining. Boniface says loud and clear. Doreen is joining from Uganda. So that's right about what we will do next. So just let me know where you are joining.
How we did that on our product listings. We have learned over many years who our customers are and how to sell to them directly. So we found that that's our place in the market, is direct to consumer through our website, and that our place in the market is at the higher end of the market, that customers are willing to pay more for a higher quality product with a great sourcing story that makes them feel good about it. And so that's how we've developed our marketing, our sales pitch, so to speak, even though it's on our website. It's still a sales pitch. So our sales pitch is higher quality products for customers who can afford to pay a little bit more and are willing to make that investment, both because of the quality of the product, the flavor of the spice that they're buying, but also they're paying for the knowledge that it's well sourced, that all the way back to the farmer in the supply chain, everybody is compensated well, compensated fairly, that we have a broad, holistic approach to running a business that values people and their contributions and is not focused on profit making and shareholders. It's a different approach. Great. So I'll stop there. Annie, how would you like to handle the Q&A session?
Thank you so much, Ethan. Hello, everyone. I can see a lot of questions already popping up. But first of all, can we give a deserving thank you and appreciation to our facilitator? I want us to be appreciative. We know how to appreciate people who give value. So I want us to, briefly appreciate our facilitator and also let us know what was that one key takeaway. What was that thing he said that stood out for you? I want us to show that we got value from what he shared. So I want to see that in the comment section. What was that thing he said that stood out for you? And as well, let's say a big thank you. I can see those already clapping and all that. So let's keep it coming. So I can see people saying amazing. Ade saying thank you so much. Judith, I see your hand. Okay. Adebisi, thanks for the knowledge shared. What stood out for you? I want us to be specific in our thanks. All right, thank you. While that is coming, I can see a lot of hands have been up. If you posted a question initially, I think now is the time to also come back and react those questions so that we can bring it up. So there's been a lot of questions. Even while Ethan was presenting, a lot of you were asking questions. And I was wondering, were you listening at all? Okay. But then I think now is the time where we can ask our questions. And I see a lot of hands already up. I'm gonna unmute, once I call your name, we'll mute you and then you ask your question. And then Ethan, how would you want it? I think we'll take 3 questions at a go and then you provide answer. I don't know, would that work for you?
Yep, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so Antonia, go ahead, ask your question. After Antonia, we have Molet, and then we have Layinka. Antonia, please go ahead.
Presentation, it was really nice. My name is Antonia. I have emailed Ethan. So I wanted to say thank you for responding. And then my question would be, looking at your presentation, I could see that you had a lot of marketing budget. What would be your advice for us? How would we go about reaching our customers?
Much, Antonia. I'm sure Ethan got that. So Molet, let's have your question. And please, if someone has repeated your question, I think it would just be okay if you don't ask it again so we can manage our time. Molet.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to to ask the question. I think Antonia has already asked what I was going to ask, so I think I'm okay.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. So Olayinka, please. Olayinka. Sorry, we can't hear you. Okay, I think Ethan, you can go ahead and respond to Antonia's question. I'm sure maybe as you answer her questions, a lot of other persons may find answers to their questions and then the hands can drop.
Sure. Antonia, thank you so much for that question and for the compliment. The truth is we don't have a big marketing budget, and we have never had a big marketing budget. So I appreciate that it looks like we do, because it means we're doing a good job. The nice thing about running a business in 2023 is that you can market your own product almost any way you choose without a big budget. Especially if you are an entrepreneur or a farmer, you are the person who's making the product. You have an amazing story to tell, and you can share that story on social media, on YouTube, by email, on a website, in a way that can people all around the world can connect with. We don't have to look so far back to remember how hard this would have been 10 years ago. But because of the internet, the growth of the internet and the growth of inexpensive smartphones, you are all in a position to be able to market your products from wherever you are. And so what I would recommend is building a voice for yourself, deciding what you want to say about your product, and then practicing saying it. Often marketing can evolve over time. The way that you market your product when you're first starting your company, or when you're early in your process of building your company, can be very different from what your marketing looks like as your company grows. And so what we did, and what I would recommend as one potentially good approach for you, is to just tell a very authentic, personal story. For the first 2 years, I ran the Instagram myself, our company Instagram. I started a company Instagram for Burlap and Barrel, and I ran it essentially as my personal account. So I showed our customers, or our audience, very small numbers in the early days, but they grew over time. I showed them what I was cooking at home with the spices. When I traveled to visit farms around the world, I would take a lot of pictures and videos to bring people along on the journey. I would, even when I was making sales calls, visiting restaurants, trying to sell spices to chefs, I would take pictures or bring customers into that process. So that they could learn what I was doing, and also sort of be on my team, support my journey, because they were seeing it step by step. So that's one approach. But what I would recommend for those of you who don't have a big marketing budget is use social media to tell your story and tell the story of what you're doing. Build a basic website for yourself. You can do that through many different website hosting platforms. Often you can build it for free. Just have the website, you can use one of their templates, have the website for free or for a pretty small amount of money to buy the URL, but have a website that just represents what you're doing. It can be one page, maybe it's your picture or a picture of your product and a little description of what you're doing. That's all you need. So have a social media account, have a website. And then the third thing is to get a lot of practice telling your story. Do as many events and markets as possible. Talk to as many people as you can in your family, your friends, walking around town, whatever you might be doing. Anybody who asks about what you're doing, take that opportunity to practice your sales pitch to them and watch their response. What are the things that people are getting excited about? And what are the things that they don't care about? So that the next time you give that pitch, or over time, you can refine the pitch and make sure that you're only talking about the things that people seem to respond positively to, so that you can make the sale. I'll give you an example. A way that we approached that early on, what we found was that people really cared about flavor. When they were buying spices, they wanted to know the spices were going to taste really good. Everything else was nice, but not necessary. And so that has become our central marketing philosophy, which is lead with flavor. We always talk about flavor first, and then we talk about where the spice comes from and the amazing people who grow it and why that flavor is so good. But what we found in those early conversations is that our customers really responded to descriptions of flavor. So those would be my 3 recommendations for an early stage marketing process, or if you don't have a lot of money for it, set up some social media accounts, whatever platform you're most comfortable using, but set up a social media account for your business. Number 2, set up a basic website. Doesn't need to do anything fancy. It can just be a static web page, but have a website for your company so that people who are looking for you on the internet can find you. And number 3 is practice your pitch. Work on figuring out what your customers are looking for.
Thank you so much, Ethan. Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So thank you. I'm sure that was really profound. Utilizing social media, it's as it makes the work quite easy. So can we have Adeyemi, please, to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, everyone. Yeah,
Hi.
can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
so,
we can.
Ethan, thank you for the interesting session you just took us through. So, my question, I'm joining from Nigeria. So, we have a lot of questions on our mind based on what we have heard in the past. When you want to export some goods, you hear that there are some standards, there are some requirement that is required. Sometimes I heard some people sent their goods abroad for sales, and those goods were eventually returned back, that probably because they did not meet up with the required standard. So I will want to know that who are the people that are setting the standards for certain products. Somebody who is willing to go into such transactions, how will he get to know the standards and things like that, that probably eventually when you package your good for exportation, that eventually such goods will not be returned. Then how do we get the right link such that the product will eventually get to where we intend it to get to? So that's my question. Thank you.
Adeyemi, thanks. That's a great question, a really important question, and a hard question to answer for a lot of reasons. One reason is that it's different in every country that you're exporting to, and so my first piece of advice is understand the regulations in the country that you're exporting to. But as you mentioned, they can often be very difficult to understand, very hard to find information online about what the requirements are across a lot of different products. In the US, that process is regulated by 2 agencies. One is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, but to be honest, very poorly regulated, very disorganized, very slow, really not a very effective government organization, especially when it comes to food, but they do have the regulatory power and responsibility. And then the other entity in the US is Customs Enforcement and Border Patrol. I can send out some links, or you can Google some information online. It really depends on the product. But what I would recommend is find a licensed customs broker in the United States or in the country that you're hoping to export to. A licensed customs broker. That's somebody who is a professional expertise. There's a certification that they have to acquire in order to do that job, and they will have an expertise in a particular product or products from a particular country, and they can help you understand what the requirements are to be able to import into the US. The other thing that's helpful, not always required or not always, you can get around it, but it's helpful to have a customer in the country already lined up so that you're not exporting without a partner on the importing side. So those would be my 2 pieces of recommendation, 2 pieces of advice. Find a customer. I mean, It's easier said than done, of course, and it depends a lot on what your product is. But if you can find a customer who's willing to take a chance and work with you, maybe for a discount or for a deferred payment terms, so that you can bring your first shipment into the country as a test, that's very helpful. And then the second is finding a licensed customs broker to work with, and you can ask them ahead of time what the requirements are for your particular product to be imported into the US.
Okay, thank you so much, Ethan. So I can see Wendy, your hand is up. So kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Hi, Wendy, are you there? Kindly ask your question.
Yeah. Hello, my question has already been asked. It was on compliance.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Okay, so Malubi, could you please unmute and ask your question? Malubi.
Yes. Hello? Yeah. Thank you very much, Ethan. So my question, I have two very quick ones. One is, what channel do you use to drive the traffic to your website? I know most of your sales come from your website, right? But is it like Instagram and Facebook, or is it Google Ads? Like, what channel? And then finally, for packaging, do you import like the glass jars from China into the US, or do you buy it from US packaging manufacturers? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great questions. We do import the jars into the US. There are basically no cost-effective jar manufacturers in the US anymore. So all jars are imported. We realized that we could import them ourselves instead of buying them from a broker domestically, save money and have more control over the production process. We found our first glass jar supplier on Alibaba, the website. So if you're looking for packaging suppliers, we've had a lot of success with lots of different products. Quite a few companies that we found to work with on Alibaba, just going on the Alibaba website and searching for, glass jar manufacturer, send a bunch of messages to all the companies that come up as a result, and choosing one. That's what we've done several times with packaging sourcing. And to your first question, how do we acquire new customers? Also a great question and critical for any business. Since we're a direct-to-consumer business, there are several ways that we could do that. And you mentioned Google Ads, paid acquisition. Fortunately, we have not had to do very much of that. We do some of it, but we have had a lot of success through PR in the media, pitching journalists. So there are, we sell spices. This is unique to food, but there are a lot of publications, especially in the US, that write about food. Magazines like Bon Appetit magazine, Food and Wine magazine, big newspapers in New York City and Los Angeles, San Francisco. They often have a food section of the newspaper. And so what we did, because to the question earlier, we didn't have any marketing budget to spend on paid acquisition of new customers, we sent emails to journalists. I mean, what I should say is I sent emails to journalists. My name is Ethan. I'm an entrepreneur. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's a little bit of the story of my business. Are you interested in this? Or would you want to talk more? Or can I send you some samples? That was really how we started acquiring direct-to-consumer customers early on, was just what they call organic earned media, meaning that we're doing something that somebody wants to write about. We earned that media attention. We didn't pay for it. And then now, as the business has grown, it's gotten more complicated. We have affiliate relationships, they're called, affiliate relationships, where we pay a percentage to an influencer or a recipe writer, an author, anytime they talk about our products and direct somebody via a special link to our website, they make a commission. The collaborations that you saw with Chef Tunde and Abena on the jollof rice blend, that's another way that we've acquired customers, by working with other organizations that have their own audience, and then encouraging them to direct their audience to our website to buy that particular product, and then hoping that they buy other products as well. But it really depends a lot, and I'm happy to sort of weigh in more detail on your particular business. I'll share my email at the end, and happy to talk and give any advice I can. But that's how we have approached customer acquisition is PR and word of mouth.
Thank you, Ethan. So, okay, I can see we still have more hands raised at the moment. And okay, I'll just pass it to Henry Okunko. Henry Okunko, kindly unmute and ask your question. 30 seconds, please.
Hello. Thank you very much for letting me in. My question is that I wish to know on this, because you only talk much on spices. What of other products? How do we source for end users or the clients? And if it talks only on Alibaba, is there any other website one can source customers from? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. Henry, was that a question about how to find customers or how to find suppliers?
Okay, so the question is how to find customers because he mentioned end users.
Well, customers. Sorry?
Ethan, hi Ethan. I guess
Yeah.
the question is on how to find customers because he mentioned end users.
Got it. Okay. So what I would recommend, if you are hoping to find wholesale customers, what I would recommend is use the internet to do some research in your target market. Who are the companies that are selling that type of product or a comparable product? And then just send them an email. What I would recommend is that you make your emails very personal. Don't send a form email or a copy and paste email. What I used to do in the very early days, I would write every email from scratch. I didn't copy and paste. I didn't have any templates. I would go to the customer's website, read as much information as I could, and then write them a personal email, sharing my name and my project, what I'm hoping to do, what I'm looking for from them, in a couple of paragraphs, a brief email where they can skim it quickly and understand generally what you're doing, but where they also get a sense of who you are as a person. You will get a lot of rejection. That's always how the sales process works. You will always get rejected more than you get accepted. It's just a question of numbers, right? How do you pitch enough so that just the percentage works out in your favor eventually? But for every 100 emails you send, maybe you'll get 5 or 10 responses, and maybe one of those people, if you're lucky, will become a customer. So it's definitely a question of persistence, and just figure out what works for you, and then just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
All right, thank you, Ethan. Okay, so also from the chat forum, I can say there's a participant asking for you to drop the link, that they would appreciate the link for the spices which you earlier mentioned. And also to continue, I think for now we'll be taking only 3 more questions. So Mohammed Ebelo, please kindly ask your question. You've been unmuted.
Question is that ask which plants are we can do it as the people that you need to supply move out to my country, Nigeria. But sometimes here, if you try to do it, the customer will be tackling your visa, and the product will be collapsed. So which kind of plant that you can try to do it in these situations?
I'm sorry, Mohammed, I didn't quite get the exact question. Could you ask it again? Just the Yeah, could you ask the question again?
Mohammed, could you please take your question again?
So my question is that here, which line to do the people that you try to import the product here from the country to US or China or India, but sometimes there is have a problem of customs here. Which kind of plan that you plan it in that problem?
Okay, are you trying to say
yeah, I think it's a question about
okay.
the custom.
Go ahead, Ethan, sorry.
The customs regulations. I think it's a question about customs regulations, knowing the customs regulations ahead of time. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, there are two sides to the process. One is the export side, how to get it out of the country of origin. Sometimes that's quite straightforward. Sometimes it can be very complicated. And then there's the import side, the other end of the supply chain. And again, sometimes it can be quite straightforward, and sometimes it's very complicated. Having good partners at every stage of the supply chain, working with people who have experience doing it is what I would recommend. But for myself, I just figured it out. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I paid some fees and had some frustrating conversations with the customs officials in the US when I couldn't bring something in or I had some issue, but I decided to figure it out myself. You can also often hire a broker of some kind, and if you want to make sure things go smoothly, that's what I would recommend. Hire a broker, an export broker or an import broker, customs broker on the import side, as I mentioned earlier. One thing that we've done in several different countries around the world when we're working with an inexperienced exporter, a new supplier who has not exported before, we try to pair them up with a more experienced exporter. So maybe we'll hire a broker just for that first year or the first couple of years until that supplier is ready to become an exporter for themselves. Or if it's a country that we already work with another organization or another farm who has more experience, maybe we'll connect them, they can advise each other, or sometimes one supplier can ship their product to the other supplier to export. But in general, our priority is always to have each individual supplier be ready to export on their own, not to be connected to another one, or not need to be connected to another supplier if possible. I think it's important that everybody have their own direct market access, whether they're selling to us or to anybody else. They should have that market access and not be dependent on another company to do that. It's also important for us from a supply chain resilience perspective. We want to make sure that we can work with each supplier individually. So I guess what I'm getting at is that it's important, you know, for the first few years, if you're just trying to get it done or trying to learn the process for the first time, work with partners, work with brokers, work with a company, or ask for help from a company who has more experience. But my recommendation would be that your goal should be to be able to do it independently, long term. That you can be you figure it out. You know, the process, it takes a few years sometimes to figure out how to do it right. But ideally, you can figure it out and then you can manage it yourself from there.
All right, thank you, Ethan. We have 2 more questions to go. Elwin, please proceed to ask your question. Elwin,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm here. Thank you so much, Ethan. I'm so excited and glad to have you on the call. Thank you for your section. You have really given us some clue on how to get our product on the shelves of a global market. Yeah, my company, I'm representing Elwin Amanchasi's company. We are in Anambra State, Nigeria. I want to ask a question on the products you're selling. I also see the product name of the manufacturer and also your company name on the product label. I want to know how you manage to combine 2 of these things together and still sell on your website. And again, I also want to connect with you how we can sell or partner with you on some of our food products. We're into food product processing and packaging. We already have our FDA, we already have our hazard analysis critical control point certification, and we wish to partner with you and also work along with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Owen. Also, a very good question. And just to flag for everybody else on the call, the last points about the FDA registration and the HACCP, hazard analysis. I don't remember the acronym exactly. HAACP. There are some other similar certifications, ISO, and there's a British one I don't remember. But those can also be very valuable piece of information to share with a potential customer, like quotes and reviews and information that we were talking about earlier. That's another way to show that your customers that you're ready to export. So Ellen, I'm glad that you have that all in place already. I think your question was about how do we sell our brand with our brand and the name of the spice separately. Am I understanding that correctly? Well,
yes,
yeah, go ahead. Please.
Okay, so
Right,
Ethan, he asked, yes, his question was around the artist.
Yes,
okay, Edwin, please proceed.
Yes, my question is around how you managed to have you have the voice of the manufacturer on the product label, and the voice and the face. There's a face there, which is their name, their product name, as well as your company product name, and all on the same packaging. So, and you're selling on your website. I want to know how you're able to put this together, and how you are working with this manufacturer successfully. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thanks. A very good question. One piece of advice about your marketing overall is that it's helpful to have a concept. That's what I call it, a concept. What's the idea behind your brand, behind your marketing? What's the message that you're trying to send? And how does that message extend out into all the different areas of your communication? And so we are the manufacturer ourselves, even though we don't own the equipment or the facility itself. We work with another manufacturer for that. But because it's contracted to them, we're still considered the manufacturer. We, Burlap and Barrel, is considered the manufacturer. And so that's our overall brand name, Burlap and Barrel. We hope that our customers associate it with high quality. We hope they associate it with single, and we hope they associate it with spices, so that when they see that brand on any of our products, they'll know this is a spice, this is a single origin product, and it's going to be very high quality. It's going to taste really good. So that's how we sort of balance the individual product names with the overall brand name. I'll show you, here's an example or a few examples. If you can see in the video, this is our Zanzibar black pepper grinder that you saw the website for. So you see our company name at the top of the label and then the name of the spice. Those two names are giving different pieces of information. The company name is, as I said, providing that background. Here's what the company stands for. And then the individual spice name, here's another example, Wild Mountain Cumin. This is from Afghanistan. The individual spice name is intended to give you a sense of where it comes from. So, on the Zanzibar black pepper, it says Zanzibar, so people know it comes from Zanzibar. On the Wild Mountain Cumin, it doesn't say exactly the place in the same way, but it says Wild Mountain Cumin. So maybe immediately you have an idea of something growing wild in the mountains, and that gives you a sense of where it comes from. That's a little bit how we kind of balance those two brands, both our company brand and then the individual product names.
All right, thank you so much, Ethan. So for the last question, I will Ruth Oluwafemilayo Emmanuel, please ask your question. That's going to be the last question we've taken for now. Ruth Fumilayo Emmanuel.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Fumilayo.
Good afternoon. Sorry, the last person has asked my question. My question has, yeah.
All right, thank you, Fumilayo. So then Ebube Aga also. Ebube.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ethan. Thank you so much for the insightful session. My company produces spice blends, so I'm really inspired by your success. And your website also looks amazing. My question is, how do you get customers to drop reviews on the website? Do you give them an incentive, or how do you do that? That's my question for now. And also, how can we connect to you directly? You mentioned you were going to share your email, so I just wanted to mention that as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'll put my website and my email in the chat at the end. I didn't want it to get lost. Everybody's being so enthusiastic about participating. I can't even keep track of all the messages. So I'll put it in at the end of the presentation so that everybody has it. Getting reviews on your website, it's a great question and an important thing, a small thing, but one that really adds up over time and can make a big difference. We just ask for them. I mean, this is a little more detailed maybe than we need to get into or is going to be relevant for everybody, but our website is hosted on Shopify. Shopify is an e-commerce oriented website hosting platform. There are other platforms that you can use, but Shopify is probably the biggest. And one of the advantages of using Shopify is that there's an app store similar to your Apple App Store or Android App Store where you can download apps for your website. And so that's what we use to collect our reviews. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but we have a website, an app that sends customers automatic emails after they place an order to say, would you please review this Zanzibar black pepper or whatever it was that you purchased. And no incentive. We don't pay for them. We don't give them a discount. We just ask, would you be so kind as to review this product if you liked it? And if you didn't like it, please tell us. And we have our customer support team. We have 3 people who work with us answering customer questions and resolving complaints. But reviews, ideally, you want them to be positive. So if people have complaints, you try to address those not in the reviews, but in a customer support email or some other process where you can help resolve it. But to get reviews, just ask for them. You don't need an app. You don't need any special thing. You can just email your customers a link to write a review and ask if they would do you a favor and write one for you. I'm not sure if Anne is able to take over the call. I'm trying to look at some questions in the chat too to try to answer. And please interrupt me if you're back on, but otherwise I'll keep answering questions so to not waste everybody's time.
Okay.
Thank you,
Ethan.
There's FDA approvals. I saw there was a question. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. So I think we can have one more question from, I see Usman Osu's hand is up. Can you unmute Usman Osu and ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to ask my question. My name is Usman Osu from Nasarawa State. I'm the CEO of Bazama Agro-Food Export. We deal into sales and processing of sesame, rice, and other food products. I haven't exported yet, but I want to start exportation, though I have a little experience about exportations. So I don't know if the host or co-host can able to at least help me with at least one supplier or one customer who I can be able to at least export even for once, and then build based on that experience and move forward. Just like the Mr. I've forgotten his name, but he says he's into Euro this in business too. At least we can source for that because we produce it in large quantity here in Nasarawa State as well. So that's my request. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thanks, Usman. Great questions. That's a great question. How to find customers? That's every entrepreneur, every business person spends most of their time trying to figure out how to do that. It depends on your product and depends on your market. The internet is an amazing resource, and so that's really what I would recommend, is to decide on your target market, if it's the US or Europe or any other country, and then do as much research as you can. Google companies selling X, my product, whatever that is, and then reach out to those companies. But as I mentioned, it can take a long time to find the right customer. It can take a lot of work and persistence before you find the right person. What has always served me well is finding somebody who I genuinely enjoy working with, somebody who I can build a business relationship with, somebody who I can be friendly with, where I don't have to be suspicious or worried, or somebody who I get a good feeling from and who I like working with. That's ultimately, that's often the most important thing. Is this somebody I want to work with as a person over many years potentially? So as I've said, it's easier said than done. It can be very hard. There are a lot of trade shows, in-person trade shows that are happening more now, that were canceled for the last few years, but are coming back. And often your government may sponsor an area of a trade show, so where they would subsidize your participation in the show. That's another way that you might find wholesale customers, business-to-business customers in the US. I was recently at a trade show called the New York Now Show, NY Now, NYNOW, and there was a section of the trade show sponsored by the Ghanaian government with, maybe 15 Ghanaian companies selling textiles and jewelry and baskets and all kinds of things. So that may be a way. Look at some trade shows in the countries that you're hoping to export to. What are the trade shows that are happening in those countries? And maybe, I don't know who the relevant office would be back home, but try to get in touch with a local government office related to business or exports and see if there are opportunities there. Since this is a group focused on food, the big food trade shows in the US, I'll just tell you now, you can write these down and look them up. One is called the Fancy Food Show. The Fancy Food Show. That takes place twice a year. That's a huge conference. Tens of thousands of people, thousands of companies exhibiting. You can walk for 3 days and not see all of the booths. It's in these big convention centers. You walk up and down the aisles. So the Fancy Food Show is one. Another big one is the Natural Products Expo. Natural Products Expo, that also happens twice a year, once in California, once in Philadelphia. Those are the two really big trade shows in food. So I would, if you're thinking about exporting, I would look at the websites of those two trade shows, Google those trade shows, and then see if there's a government sponsorship or subsidy of some kind from your export or a similar office in your country to help fund your participation in those trade shows, because they can be quite expensive.
Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate your support and time in this session today. So I'll just go through the chat briefly. Ms. Sauki said, on behalf of all participants, we say a big thank you to Mr. Ethan for the wonderful presentation, wishing you and your company to so higher. Also, we also have from Adesunbonko Solomon. He said, thanks, Ethan. Insightful session. Thank you, Ethan. Esther Echo. And also, this is just a very brief one. Akonji Oluwaseyi said, please, what degree is your spices dehydrated? Ethan, please, would you be willing to give a response to that? What degree
Sure.
is your
Yeah,
spices dehydrated? Is a question from a participant.
sure. Most of our Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. Most of our spices are sun dried, so they're not dehydrated commercially or in a machine. They're dried in the sun. When we do dehydrate in a machine, typically, I only know the Fahrenheit number. It's going to be 165 or 170 degrees Fahrenheit. What is that? That's probably like I don't know, 90 Celsius maybe. I don't know off the top of my head, but about 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right. Thank you, sir. There are lots of thanks here. Baba Femi said, thanks so much. Adeyemi, thank you so much. Adiola, thank you. So there are a lot of thank you. Thank you, Ethan, for this wonderful session. We appreciate that. It's from Gifts out there. Okay, so Eloge says she needs a market for Africa red eye dried chili from Burundi. And others are just saying thanks. All right, so thank you, Ethan. On behalf of the participant today, I also say a very big thanks to you for taking your time to share your your experience and insights about the course. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence here today. So just before you leave, we would like to take a photo session with you. So please, all participants, kindly turn on your camera so we can have a photo session with Ethan. I can see our cameras are coming up already, but some of us does not have our face on the camera. Please, let's focus our face on the camera. All right, team members, please, are we ready? Please, let's take the pictures. All right, we are now on the third page. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Ethan. We appreciate your thoughts and we appreciate your time for doing this today. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having future opportunities with you. So lastly, before you drop off the call, Ethan, kindly share the link in the chat box just as you have committed. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for hosting, and thank you for inviting me to join. Thank you to everybody who joined and listened, and thank you for all your great questions and insights. My parting words is just to say that you're fighting the good fight. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of persistence, it takes a lot of people to introduce the rest of the world to the incredible value and beautiful agricultural products that come out of the African continent. So it isn't always easy, or it's not usually easy, but it's definitely worth it. So keep doing it. Congratulations to all of you on the success that you've achieved so far, and I'm glad to be talking with all of you today and working together on this big goal. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you so much, participants, for staying for being here today. So my colleague Nosa will run us through the membership drive.
Thank you, Bushra, and thank you everyone on the call. My name is Nusa Obano, the membership officer at African Food Changemakers, and I will be taking us through the membership drive. So I have those of us who are not members on the call to join the community and also benefit from our membership community. I would kindly share my screen with using 1 minute. So let me put on my screen. So AFC is African Food Changemakers is a membership-oriented organization, and our major priority and focus of the organization is that we connect entrepreneurs in the agri-food space to opportunities being maybe funding opportunities or access to funding opportunities, capacity building opportunities, events and trade linkages. We also share networking and speaking engagement opportunities as well. So our membership community comprises of entrepreneurs across Africa. Presently, we have presence in over 38 African countries, and we intend to expand our reach. And one of the key criteria of becoming a member of the AFC Hub is that you tend to leverage networking with other entrepreneurs. We have a social media platform where entrepreneurs engage with each other to connect and also interact on partnership opportunities, as well as leveraging insight and knowledge from other entrepreneurs as well. So the criteria for joining our membership community is just that you must be an agripreneur in the agri-food enterprise. That means you must have an agri-business already, an existing agri-business already, and the existing agri-business must be in existence for a period of at least 6 months. And also, you should have a social media presence that tells a lot about your agri-business, what you do, and what your business is doing as well in terms of activities. The reason why we request for this is that sometimes when we come up with opportunities and we leverage partnership with potential investors, potential funders, or partners, they request for evidence of what our entrepreneurs are doing, and the quick way of showing evidence our entrepreneurs are doing are through their social media or website pages, telling us that, okay, if an agri-business is into food or let's say essential services, you click on your website, it has to tell us what services are you offering or what business are you into. So it tells that you're in the agri-food space. So some of the criteria for joining our membership, aside that, is we also request some of the personal information, so that your name, email, where we regularly share our newsletters, our members, where we talk about opportunities and others as well. And also, we request company details as well. And on this particular page, you can see some of the benefits we offer to our members in terms of access to strengthen the agribusinesses and scale up the agribusinesses. The key criteria of our vision as an organization is to see successful agripreneurs in the long run, where we have changing narratives about African foods. And this engagement today is an example of that, where we're going to leverage opportunities across Africa. Our products can move from our African continent even down to the overseas and abroad as well. So I will drop the link on the chat for those who are not members to join. The membership will take about 3 minutes of your time to join the community. And once you have joined the community, you'll be taken directly to your dashboard, where you also leverage connection with other entrepreneurs and seek partnership and knowledge sharing as well. Thank you, and over to you, Bushra.
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time for joining today's session, and we look forward to having more insightful and exciting sessions as we move forward in the program. So with this, we have come to the end of today's live interactive session. If there are further questions which you would like to ask us, you can follow up with them via email and also through the WhatsApp group chat. Thank you. And also, additionally, we'll be sharing the recorded session for today's meeting with us later. Thank you all. We appreciate. Bye, everyone.